Now then, if you remember a while ago, I rebuilt this Gtech Mk. I put a new drive gear in it and took the batteries out of a Dyson, one of those awful battery Dysons, but the batteries are good, but the BMS was had reached the end of its allotted life, if you know what I mean. Anyway, I took the cells out of that Dyson battery and put them in this Gtech battery and wired it all up, and away it went. So the BMS in this Gtech is good quality. Anyway, my friend Gareth came up with this one, and I picked it up yesterday, and it's a Gtech Mark II. It's called a K9. So I think the best thing to do is to have a brief look at it. I've worked out what's wrong with it, and it's surprising. That's all I can say. Yeah, so let's just zoom down. All the handle and everything is very similar. This handle, you can press this button somewhere. It's at the back, and this part of the handle scoots inside, yeah, to make it shorter for fitting in cupboards and whatnot. But anyway, let's zoom down. It's sort of interesting, and I've looked on a video on YouTube, obviously made by Gtech, and the fault, although not... Anyway, the bits are available, put it like that. So here we go. So it's all totally different. This lot comes out somehow, yeah, like that. Totally different from the Mark I, which is like this. Are we there? We are, yeah. And that comes off, and there's the filters. As you can see, this one's still working okay, as I would expect. So this one, there's all sorts of interesting things, including this cleaner bar. And then somehow, and I haven't quite worked it out yet, there we go, that opens up to tip the muck out. And this was very clean when I got it, very, very clean, and that muck there is just from me testing it. Anyway, there's a video about this on YouTube describing all this lot. Right, that goes over there, and then somehow this fits in there like that. No doubt you would get used to that. So he gave me this, and the first thing I did was, after inspecting it and going, what's going on, yeah, and where's the plugging, where's the charging port? Well, there it is. And initially I thought it was a different socket to the Mark 1s, but it's not. So here's a Mark 1 charging, and I don't know if you can see, but the lights light up, yeah, and it's just going dim and it's coming bright again. So there we go. I'll unplug that, because that looks like it's virtually fully charged. The thing was, I went, oh right, okay, I'd never seen one of these before. I thought, that looks like the on and off. So, right, so it seems to work, yeah. And then there was does the brush bar go round? And it does, and there's not too much muck wrapped around the brush bar, and apparently there's a button here, and you press this button and this whole lot comes out, and you can either use a knife or the special tool that they have for removing all this fibre. Okay, and there's these bits here which are like rubbers to keep the suction. Well, that's replaceable, etc, etc. But the only thing that I found out that wouldn't work is this wouldn't tip. Unlike this one, which tips, yeah, and you can feel it uncatching, as it were. This one won't. I thought, wow, is that the reason why this has been thrown away? Because that doesn't tip anymore. Seems like we got a good battery. Everything else was in place, not a problem. Yeah. So, having watched the video on YouTube, that comes off. Right, and this bit just does not tip. Well, apparently there are 4 screws there, and I can't quite see, but they look like Torx. So I'm going to undo those 4 screws, and I'm thinking this whole arrangement here then comes out. Well, whilst we're here, you see this here. Where are we? There we go. That's the battery. It's 2 amp hour at 22 volts. There's some screws there and there, so I assume you can get into it. Looks like the top comes off or something like that. I might investigate that later on, but it works, so that's not a problem. So I need to undo those screws there. Let's take the battery out anyway. And I'm thinking they'll be Torx, but they're down the bottom of a hole, which is a pain in the neck. And sometimes the holes are too small. Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what size. It'd be nice if that was a T10. Is it a T10? Oh, it is it could be a T10, which would be a good thing. It is a T10. Brilliant. That's the same torque screw head as Makita batteries and many other things, which is great. But you need a good one of these, and you also need a security type one, which has got a little hole up the end. Although these screws here aren't security type, which is nice. Very nice, well done Gtech. Right, now, apparently this should lift out. There's another screw out of there. Aha. Tapping the screw helped. Oh, that comes off. That's the cover. Okay. Right, I'm going to have to investigate that. So we got that, and there we've got those seats there that goes down to, there we go, that bar there. So we have a seat that sits round there, and this sits round like that. Okay. The spring works. That's sprung loaded. I suspect that probably just wants some lubricating. Can you see that is like a roller, and underneath, just in there, there's a pair of springs. I think if I lubricate that so that as it pushes it actually rolls, that might be just all that's required. It seems quite robust, and this piece here, this latch, that moves all right. Yeah, so I'm going to lube that up, and yeah, what lube should we use? Don't know. Not diesel. I don't know if I've got any WD, but it wants some silicone type or some rubber type grease probably, just so that that is able to move against the springs. Right, because I'm thinking that that roller rolls against an edge here. There's a tapered edge just in there, right, so that sits in there, and as you pull back that has got to spring back. Right, let's put some lube on everything and then put it back together. Right, I've hunted around downstairs. I don't know if this is the right stuff or not. Let's just generally lube everything up. Okay. So, was it that way around? It was right. It was that way around. There we go. Doesn't seem to want to go. Don't think that moves. Right, that's put back there. There we go. Okay, and then this went back in there. I'm going to put the screws back in just so that I don't break anything. If that really was the reason for this to be scrapped. What is that? Is that just the inability for anybody to investigate, or is it a design that is not quite right? So I think that went on like that, and this fitted in there. Ah! Would you believe it, hey? The application a bit of lube, and having seen what's the problem is, right, you can actually get to that down there. I don't know whether I can show you that. There's that roller. So all you need to do is spray some WD on that, yeah, and away it goes. What do you think to that? So we have a machine with a fully charged battery, and it was relatively clean, and the filter was clean inside, so it had been looked after. Or maybe it hadn't been used very much and that roller had just stuck. That's a scenario that maybe yeah, that sort of, it's been in the cupboard, it's not been used for a year or so, but then the battery is virtually fully charged. Anyway, the fault was that this wouldn't click over, and therefore then you couldn't then turn this, because one of the beauties of these things is that you can turn that virtually flat, and that's the same with the Mark 1. So there you go, application of a bit of lube down there, just down there, and we're done. Comments, discussion, what shall I call this video? No parts required. Catch up with you soon.